Om. 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 Om Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gaganasadrasham Tattvamasyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavaतीतं Trigunarahitam Tam Nami Shrutismritipurananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Om Shri Krishna Paramatmane Namaha. Atha Shrimad Bhagavad Gita Ashtamodhyayah Akshara Parabrahma Yogaha. Arjuna Uvacha Kim tad brahma kim adhyatmam kim karma purushottama adhibhutancha kim proktam adhidaivam kim uchyate adhiyajñah katham kotra dehesmin madhusudana prayana kale cha katham jneyyosi niyatatmabhihi. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Aksharam Brahma Paramam Svabhavodhyatmamuchyate Bhuta Bhavodbhavakaraha Visargah Karma Sangitaha Adhibhutam Ksharo Bhavaha Purushascha Adhiyajñohamevatra Dehe Deha Bhritam Vara Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yah prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshayah yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tamevaiti kaunteya sada sadbhava bhavitah. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmara yudhyacha mayyarpita mano buddhihi mame vaishyasya samshayam abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa nanya paramam purusham divyam yati parthanuchintayan. Kavim Puranamanushasitaram Anoraniyam Samarusmaredhyah सर्वस्य धातारमचिन्त्य रूपम् आदित्यवर्णं तमसः परस्तात् प्रयाणकाले मनसाचलेन भक्त्या युक्तो योगबलेन चैव भ्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणमावेश्य सम्यक् सतं परं पुरुषमुपैति दिव्यम् यदक्षरं वेदविदो वदन्ति विशन्ति यद्यतयो वीतरागाः यदिच्छन्तो ब्रह्मचर्यं चरन्ति तत्ते पदं संग्रहेण प्रवक्ष्ये सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य मनोहृदि निरुध्य च मूर्ध्याधायात्मनः प्राणम् आस्थितो योगधारणाम् ओमित्येकाक्षरं ब्रह्म व्याहरन् मामनुस्मरन् यः प्रयाति त्यजन् देहं स याति परमां गतिम् अनन्यचेताः सततं यो मां स्मरति नित्यशः तस्याहं सुलभः पार्थ नित्ययुक्तस्य योगिनः मामुपेत्य पुनर्जन्म दुःखालयमशाश्वतं नाप्नुवन्ति महात्मानः संसिद्धिं परमां गताः आब्रह्मभुवनान् लोकाः पुनरावर्तिनोऽर्जुन मामुपेत्य तु कौन्तेय पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते सहस्रयुगपर्यन्तम् अहर्यद्ब्रह्मणो विदुः रात्रिं युगसहस्रान्ताम् होरात्रविदो जनाः अव्यक्ताद्व्यक्तयः सर्वाः प्रभवन्त्यहरागमे रात्र्यागमे प्रलीयन्ते तत्रैवाव्यक्तसंज्ञके भूतग्रामः स एवायं भूत्वा भूत्वा प्रलीयते रात्र्यागमे वशः पार्थ प्रभवत्यहरागमे परस्तस्मात्तु भावोऽन्यः व्यक्तो व्यक्तात् सनातनः यस्य सर्वेषु भूतेषु नश्यत्सु न विनश्यति अव्यक्तोऽक्षर इत्युक्तः तस्माहुः परमां गतिम् यं प्राप्य न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम पुरुषः स परः पार्थ भक्त्या लभ्यस्त्वनन्यया यस्यान्तस्थानि भूतानि येन सर्वमिदं ततं यत्र काले त्वनावृत्तिः आवृत्तिं चैव योगिनः प्रयाता यान्ति तं कालं वक्ष्यामि भरतर्षभ अग्निर्ज्योतिरः शुक्लः षण्मासा उत्तरायणम् तत्र प्रयाता गच्छन्ति ब्रह्मविदो जनाः धूमो रात्रिस्तथा कृष्णः षण्मासा दक्षिणायनम् तत्र चान्द्रमसं ज्योतिः योगी प्राप्य निवर्तते शुक्लकृष्णे गतिह्येते जगतः शाश्वते मते एकया यात्यनावृत्तिः अन्यया वर्तते पुनः नैते श्रुति पार्थ जानन् योगी मुह्यति कश्चन तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु योगयुक्तो भवार्जुन वेदेषु यज्ञेषु तपस्सु चैव दानेषु यत् पुण्यफलं प्रदिष्टम् अत्येति तत्सर्वमिदं विदित्वा योगी परं स्थानमुपैति चाद्यम् ॐ तत्सत् इति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे अक्षरपरब्रह्मयोगो नाम अष्टमोऽध्यायः। अथ नवमोऽध्यायः। राजविद्या राजगुह्ययोगः। श्रीभगवानुवाच इदं तु ते गुह्यतमं प्रवक्ष्याम्यनसूयवे ज्ञानं विज्ञानसहितं यज्ञात्वा मोक्ष्यसे शुभात्। जय गुरुदेव।
Ramaraji, Jai Gurudev. I start with verse 20 and just meaning and then 21st. Or
20 was what we did yesterday, right?
Yeah. परस्तस्मात्तु भावोऽन्यो व्यक्तो व्यक्तात् सनातनः यः स सर्वेषु भूतेषु नश्यत्सु न विनश्यति. But distinct from that unmanifest is another unmanifest, which is existent and eternal. It is not destroyed when all beings are destroyed. महः परम अव्यक्तम अव्यक्ता पुरुषः परः पुरुषान् परम किं सा काष्ठा सा परागतिः. It is from the Kathopanishad. The unmanifest is higher than Mahat. Purusha is higher than the unmanifest. There is nothing higher than Purusha. He is the end. He is the highest goal. So we had seen, I'll just read the last paragraph. We had seen till here. The nature of moksha is described in various ways. Freedom from bondage, freedom from self-ignorance, freedom from samsara, reaching the abode of Vishnu, not as a place, but as recognition that I am one with Ishvara, or gaining ananda are some of the expressions describing moksha. A most interesting one is that you gain the Purusha. This is only possible if you are already Purusha and do not know it. Then you can gain the Purusha by knowledge. To be the Purusha is to know. That is why a Brahma is sometimes described in terms of Brahman. The knower of Brahman is Brahman. Brahma with Brahma eva bhavati. The uniqueness of Vedanta is that the description of moksha will be a description of the vastu. The different descriptions in terms of result, freedom from bondage, gaining of ananda, etc. are confusing for some people. If ananda is understood as bliss, some experience of happiness that is out of the ordinary, a person becomes a seeker of that bliss. Like any other thing in samsara, moksha becomes one of the things sought after. But this gain of ananda is the gain of my own nature. It is not experiential ananda, but the essence of every experience of ananda. That recognition is gaining ananda. This is such a remarkable paragraph. I will just repeat the last sentence. It is not experiential ananda, but the essence of every experience of ananda. that recognition is gaining ananda. Significance of the word tu. Tasmat tu paraha. The word tu is always to distinguish between two things and can be translated as but, so, whereas, etc. It is a word that introduces a new topic, bringing in a condition whereby something already stated is to be distinguished from what is to come. Tu here is to distinguish para vastu from everything else. Everything else has been reduced to avyakta, but superior to that, tasmat tu purah is something else. The word tu here shows the distinction of the vastu that is going to be talked about. It conveys the idea that there is no other thing like the vastu. Avyakta, the cause of everything that is manifest, is not the final cause after all. It is only another upadhi. The true cause is the basis of the avyakta, that is Brahman. When everything is reduced to avyakta, the cause, and if it is even other than that, you may think it is non-existent. It is like asking what on this planet is to the north of the North Pole. Once you are on the North Pole, there is nothing to the north of that. To show that the vastu under discussion is not non-existent, Bhagavan uses the word bhava, existent. It always is. That is the nature of Aksharam Brahma. It has no non-existence, abhava, and does not change at all. What is distinct from avyakta and is an existent being is Param Brahma. I hope if you want me to read once again the avyakta part, it is very, very important. I will just read once again. Avyakta, the cause of everything that is manifest, is not the final cause after all. It is only another upadhi. The true cause is the basis of the avyakta, that is Brahman. When everything is reduced to avyakta, the cause, and if it is even other than that, you may think it is non-existent. It is like asking what on this planet is to the north of the North Pole. Once you are on the North Pole, there is nothing to the north of that. To show that the vastu under discussion is not non-existent, Bhagavan uses the word bhava, existent. It always is. That is the nature of Aksharam Brahma. It has no non-existence, abhava, and does not change at all. What is distinct from avyakta and is an existent being is Param Brahma. Dismissal of being a member of a sect. Sa lakshanya. I hope I'm correct in my pronunciation. Sa lakshanya. Anyaha. A thing that is different from another thing can still belong to the same group as the thing it is distinguished from. This is called sa lakshanya, having the same characteristic. For example, chair, table, sofa, etc. Even though different from each other, are all characterized as furniture. They are all of the same class. Similarly, when you say it is other than the unmanifest cause, avyaktat paraha, it may be one of the many things in the world even though it is different from everything else. It is true that Brahman is different from everything else, but nothing is different from Brahman. I repeat, it is true that Brahman is different from everything else, but nothing is different from Brahman because it is not like any other thing. It is necessary to dismiss the possibility of Salakshanya. I repeat the last line as there was a breaking of voice. It is true that Brahman is different from everything else, but nothing is different from Brahman because it is not like any other thing. It is necessary to dismiss the possibility of Salakshanya. Brahman cannot be characterized under any group, including Loka or Devata. To show this, Bhagwan uses the word Anya, meaning it is quite another. It is distinct in an entirely different way from what we normally understand. It is not non existent, it is not momentarily existent, it is existent and at the same time distinct from everything else. What is that? It is avyakta. That is, it is not known as an object of the sense organs. Since Bhagwan has used the word bhava, it can be understood as an existent thing. Avyakta makes it clear that it is something that is not available for objectification. It is the cause of the very sense organ. So, it is not going to be available as a sound or a form or color. Then, how are you going to know that Brahman? It is manifest in the mind because it is the very nature of the mind. It is recognized there. Even in the sense organs, it is present. It is the ear of the ear, the eye of the eye, not the object of the eye, but that because of which the eye sees, ear hears, sense of smell smells. It is from the Kena Upanishad. Even though it is not an object of perception, it is always manifest as the very truth of every sense organ, every thought. It is you. Further, it is avyakta, the very basis of the popular avyakta, the unmanifest, which is the seed of all beings. This is the most beautiful paragraph I have ever read. I will just repeat once again. It is avyakta, that is, it is not known as an object of the sense organs. Since Bhagwan has used the word bhava, it can be understood as an existent thing. Avyakta makes it clear that it is something that is not available for objectification. It is the cause of the very sense organ. So, it is not going to be available as a sound or a form or color. Then, how are you going to know that Brahman? It is manifest in the mind because it is the very nature of the mind. It is recognized there. Even in the sense organs, it is present. It is the ear of the ear, the eye of the eye, not the object of the eye, but that because of which the eye sees, ear hears, sense of smell smells. Even though it is not an object of perception, it is always manifest as the very truth of every sense organ, every thought. It is you. Further, it is avyakta, the very basis of the popular avyakta, the unmanifest, which is the seed of all beings. Sanatanah means that which always exists. It is beyond cause and effect and not bound by time. It existed before, exists now, and will exist later. It is timeless. Even though we use the word beyond, there is nothing beyond. Everything we can reach or even imagine is within this avyakta. That means it is the very nature of the seer, Drik Swarupa, which is Param Brahma. Very beautiful line. I repeat the last line. That means it is the very nature of the seer, Drik Swarupa, which is Param Brahma. Brahmaloka, etc., are all within your knowledge and within time and space, which are manifest from avyakta, the unmanifest. What is beyond that is Atma, which is always immediately available as the self of all beings, purely in the form of consciousness, which is the truth of I. And this not being limited by time is never destroyed. Sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashyati. I repeat, there was a breaking of voice, and this not being limited by time is never destroyed. Sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashyati. The one who remains in all perishable forms, never getting destroyed, is indeed the Atma. So beautiful. Before we go to the new verse, if you want me to repeat any paragraph, please do let me know.
I think, can you repeat that thing that Sa Lakshanya?
Yeah.
That dismissal of being a member, said they have that.
Yeah. Dismissal of being a member of a set, Sa Lakshanya. Anyah, a thing that is different from another thing can still belong to the same group as the thing it is distinguished from. This is called Salakshanya, having the same characteristic. For example, chair, table, sofa, etc., even though different from each other, are all characterized as furniture. They are all of the same class. Similarly, when you say it is other than the unmanifest cause, avyaktat paraha, it may be one of the many things in the world, even though it is different from everything else. It is true that Brahman is different from everything else, but nothing is different from Brahman. Because it is not like any other thing. It is necessary to dismiss the possibility of Sa Lakshanya. Brahman cannot be characterized under any group, including Loka or Devata. To show this, Bhagavan uses the word Anya, meaning it is quite another. It is distinct in an entirely different way from what we normally understand. It is not non-existent. It is not momentarily existent. It is existent and at the same time distinct from everything else. What is that? It is avyakta, that is, it is not known as an object of the sense organs. Since Bhagavan has used the word bhava, it can be understood as an existent thing. Avyakta makes it clear that it is something that is not available for objectification. It is the cause of the very sense organ. So it is not going to be available as a sound or a form or color. Then how are you going to know that Brahman? It is manifest in the mind because it is the very nature of the mind. It is recognized there. Even in the sense organs, it is present. It is the ear of the ear, the eye of the eye, not the object of the eye, but that because of which the eye sees, ear hears, sense of smell smells. It is from the Kenopanishad. If anyone can find that shloka, please do share. This must be the most beautiful. I think Nanaji had told, we will try to find. Even though it is not an object of perception, it is always manifest as the very truth of every sense organ, every thought. It is you. Further, it is avyakta, the very basis of the popular avyakta, the unmanifest, which is the seed of all beings. Sanatana means that which always exists. It is beyond cause and effect and not bound by time. It existed before, exists now, and will exist later. It is timeless. Even though we use the word beyond, there is nothing beyond. Everything we can reach or even imagine is within this avyakta. That means it is the very nature of the seer, Drik Swarupa, which is Param Brahma. Brahmaloka, etc., are all within your knowledge and within time and space, which are manifest from avyakta, the unmanifest. What is beyond that is Atma, which is always immediately available as the self of all beings, purely in the form of consciousness, which is the truth of I. This not being limited by time is never destroyed. Sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na nashyati. The one who remains in all perishable forms, never getting destroyed, is indeed the Atma. So that I is the same in everything around us. And that is that Mahat Tattva, I believe, right, Brahmaraji?
It is beyond the Mahat, no?
Yeah,
the
beyond
previous
Mahat is
verse we said
Purusha, right?
Mahat,
Right.
Mahat, Avyakta, and Purusha. So
Yes.
Purusha is what is being described here. So he's beyond that Mahat and the Avyakta even. It is like that beautiful example given beyond the North Pole, what is there? It is not that there is some non-existent thing there. There is the one basis for which even the non-existent Avyakta is because of this Purusha. The only one that exists.
Here this word bhava and abhava. Could you please simplify?
Oh, okay. I also wanted to ask you this. This Salakshana, can we go over that? I mean, not reading, just summarizing what that was. Salakshanya.
I believe it is in even in perishable forms, although it has different traits, but in that vyakta, the expressive form also, there is a vyakta, which is the same consciousness in every which is the substratum.
So here you were trying to say what is Anyaga and then the Abhyakta. Then they brought this word called salak, salakshanya. Whereas
Salakshanya.
basically he says that it means the same characteristic, like they're giving the example of the furniture. But then that unmanifest cause is avyaktat paraha. So the Brahman is different from everything else. Nothing is different from Brahman.
Brahman, yes.
Then not like any other thing, it is necessary to dismiss the possibility of salakshanya. So it is different from everything else, but nothing different from Brahman. So this word anyaha is a thing is different from another thing, can still belong to the same group as a thing it is distinguished from. So that's what that is lakshanya. So this is the part of that sloka, right? The verse that we read.
Yeah.
Anyaga, what is that one?
I will just read. Yeah.
So what Swamiji is mentioning here is that we are dismissing the possibility of salakshanya.
Yeah. In the end, that's what he says. But then one is different from the other. Like that, the Brahman is different from everything else. But nothing is, but it is part. What is that?
So what he's saying is, although it seems it's different, it is not salakshan. It's not like the salakshan. You cannot categorize it as in the category of salakshanya, because it is because of it that everything else is.
Yeah, the cause of it.
The cause, right? It is the
intelligent
cause, it's the efficient cause, as well as the material cause.
Right.
Therefore, seemingly, although it is different from all that is manifest, it is not different. It is, you cannot apply the salakshanya over there.
So paras, this sloka is parastasmatu bhavonya vyakto vyakta sanatanaga yak sa sarveshu bhutesu nasyatsu na vinashyati. So it is not destroyable. When all beings are destroyed, it's not the Atma is not destroyed. That's what the last line it said, right? The perishable things. That is not destroyed when all beings are destroyed. Sometimes I wonder, it's given in a different format. I'm wondering what is the purpose of it.
I think we just have to remember that it is the very swarupa of Atma, and that is the cause for Sutre Mani Gana, that thread which is there, and we are all those bits in the creation. You want me to repeat anything? Anyaha. Another word also, the Brahmavit also, that was discussed in, I think, chapter 3. Shall I go to the new verse? Or we want to discuss or?
No, go ahead.
I
I'm
think we
sorry.
can go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this not being limited by time is never destroyed. Sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashyati. The one who remains in all perishable forms, yet never getting destroyed, is indeed the Atma. Avyakto Avyaktoksara ityuktah tamahu paramam gatim yam prapya na nivartante tadhama paramam mama. Avyaktah, the unmanifest, Aksharah iti uktah, that was said to be Akshara, that which is not subject to destruction. Tam Aksharam, that Akshara, Paramam Gatim, as the highest and Ahuhu, they speak of Yama Prapya, gaining which Na Nivartante, people do not return. Tat, that Mama is my Paramam, highest Dham, abode. Avyaktah Aksharah iti uktah tam aksharam paramam gatim ahuhu yam prapya na nivartante tat mama paramam dhama. The unmanifest that was spoken of as the one that is not subject to destruction, that they say is the highest end, that abode of mind, gaining which people do not return, is the highest. I repeat, the unmanifest that was spoken of as the one that is not subject to destruction, that they say is the highest end. That abode of mind, gaining which people do not return, is the highest. Avyaktah aksharah iti uktah tam ahuhu paramam gatim. The avyakta atma is akshara, not subject to destruction, because it is not subject to time, it is not subject to any kind of change. It is that which people who know the Shastra call Parama Gati. A place that we reach or any accomplishment we achieve is called Gati, the end. Vishnu Loka and Brahma Loka are all ends for the Jiva, the Samsari. But here, Atma, the self who wants to go to places, is itself said to be the end. This is such a beautiful line. But here, Atma, the self who wants to go to places, is itself said to be the end. How is this possible? How can I be a gati to myself? How can there be two Atmas? One who reaches and the other who is reached? The answer is, for the confused person, truth is the end, gati. All other ends are within samsara and they are for the confused jiva. So, when he wants to be released from that Atma itself, the truth of the confused jiva becomes the gati. That is what they say is the most exalted and Parama Gati. Any other Gati is reached only after death and can be either bad or good. Parama Gati has no end. It is moksha. So the Atma itself becomes moksha here. Freedom, the Purushartha, is non-separate from yourself. Therefore, the seeker of moksha is not separate from moksha. There was a breaking of voice. I repeat, it is very, very important line. Please pay attention. Vishnu Loka and Brahma Loka are all ends for the Jiva, the Samsari. But here Atma, the self who wants to go to places, is itself said to be the end. How is this possible? How can I be a Gati to myself? How can there be two Atmas, one who reaches and the other who is reached? The answer is, for the confused person, truth is the end, Gati. All other ends are within samsara and they are for the confused jiva. So, when he wants to be released from that, Atma itself, the truth of the confused jiva, becomes the Gati. That is what they say is the most exalted and Parama Gati. Any other Gati is reached only after death and can be either bad or good. Paramagati has no equal. It is moksha. So the Atma itself becomes moksha here. Freedom, the Purushartha, is non-separate from yourself. Therefore, the seeker of moksha is not separate from moksha. Since the seeker and the sought are one and the same, the seeing stems from ignorance. Kshamyatam. Since the seeker and the sought are one and the same, the seeking stems from ignorance. If I am the end and I am the seeker, the means for accomplishing that end can only be discernment, viveka. Viveka is the means, Atma is the end. The aviveki becomes the seeker, the avyakta Atma, the end, and viveka, the means. It reminds me of Gurudev's that bhajan, Main hi musafir, main hi kinara. If I am the end and I am the seeker, the means for accomplishing that end can only be discernment, viveka. Viveka is the means, Atma is the end. The aviveki becomes the seeker, the avyakta Atma, the end, and viveka, the means.
Excuse me, Balaji, can you read from the beginning again?
Yeah.
It's confusing to me.
Okay, no
From
problem, no
Avyakta
problem.
part, yeah, the
Yeah, yeah,
Avyakta Akshara. Thank you. Sorry.
yeah. No problem, dear. It is very, very beautiful verse. Avyaktoksara ityuktah tamahu paramam gatim yam prapya nivartante taddhama paramam mama. The unmanifest that was spoken of as the one that is not subject to destruction, that they say is the highest end. That abode of mind, gaining which people do not return, is the highest. Avyaktah aksharah iti uktah tam ahuhu paramam gatim. The avyakta atma is akshara, not subject to destruction. Because it is not subject to time, it is not subject to any kind of change. It is that which people who know the Shastra call Paramagati. A place that we reach or any accomplishment we achieve is called Gati, the end. Vishnu Loka and Brahma Loka are all ends for the Jiva, the Samsari. But here, Atma, the self who wants to go to places, is itself said to be the end. How is this possible? How can I be a Gati to myself? How can there be two Atmas, one who reaches and the other who is reached? The answer is, for the confused person, truth is the end, Gati. All other ends are within samsara and they are for the confused jiva. So, when he wants to be released from that, Atma itself, the truth of the confused jiva, becomes the Gati. That is what they say is the most exalted and Parama Gati. Any other Gati is reached only after death and can be either bad or good. Parama Gati has no equal. It is moksha. So the Atma itself becomes moksha here. Freedom, the Purushartha, is non-separate from yourself. Therefore, the seeker of moksha is not separate from moksha, since the seeker and the sought are one and the same. The seeking stems from ignorance. If I am the end and I am the seeker, the means for accomplishing that end can only be discernment, viveka.
1 second, can you just repeat? Sorry, can you repeat the previous sentence?
Yeah. Therefore, the seeker of moksha is non-separate from moksha, since the seeker and the sought are one and the same. The seeking stems from ignorance. If I am the end and I am the seeker, the means for accomplishing that end can only be discernment, viveka.
Sorry, discernment, Bela, not
Discernment.
discernment is
Discernment.
Vivek, yeah. Discerning,
Yeah.
the distinguishing, discerning, yeah, right. Because it sounded like dissentment, I just wanted to clarify
Yeah,
that.
Kshamyatam, sorry.
Yeah.
If I am the end and I am the seeker, the means for accomplishing that end can only be discernment, viveka. Viveka is the means, Atma is the end. The aviveki becomes the seeker, the avyakta Atma, the end, and viveka, the means. I repeat, the aviveki becomes the seeker, the avyakta Atma, the end, and viveka, the means.
I wonder here, this Atma itself becomes a seeker here. That's the way it is mentioned. Can you clarify that, Dr. Pramara? I don't know, I couldn't understand that sentence. The seeker of moksha is not separate from moksha.
Yeah, it is. It is the jiva who is under the envelopment of ignorance.
Mm.
He's trying to uncover himself, isn't it? So basically, it is jiva is nothing but Atma. Jiva is no different from Brahma. But the whole moksha purushartha is in identifying yourself as Brahman, as the jiva, the I that we think we are, is actually the big I. The small I we think we are is the big I. So that small I is the seeker and the sought is the big I. And there is no difference between these two. So therefore, viveka is the means. Knowledge is the means.
But then
Because
a viveki becomes the seeker. That is meaning like the one with the ignorance is that a viveki, right? Then becomes a seeker.
Only see when can a person become a seeker? Where we were all seekers in some form before. But over the last 1 year, because of that little viveka, we are actually becoming possibly true seekers, isn't it? So only when that viveka is there can you actually start seeking. Otherwise, you will live your whole life just living. I mean, you're not living every moment. It is I don't know how to put it. For a complete aviveki, he doesn't even know that there is this thing called jiva, atma, brahma. He's just kao, pio, maja karo. That's it. He's just living every day mechanically. He goes on and on in the cycle. For that seeker, in order to start seeking the truth, that little bit of discrimination, that viveka, vairagya, they're all required, isn't it?
Right. So basically, You know, in the sloka 19, it said the next three verses going to talk about that Omkara, that Akshar Brahma, and what is the nature and whatnot, right? So the previous one said Akshara, Avyakta, unmanifest, and all that. I mean, here,
Yeah, he's talking of
same,
the
unmanifest.
same thing. He's saying it is not like you go to some place.
Right.
Like
Can I add one
you
example
want to go
here?
to California, you want to go to, yeah, someone wants to say something.
Yeah,
Mm.
seed already have a tree. So there is a Vyakta tree inside the seed. That example I remember right now. And other thing, Jiva has a Lakshana like a Asmita, Avidya, and all that 5 Lakshanas are there, no? So we don't know who we are. That's why they are asking always, ask question who you are. Then that all 5 Mahavakyas will work for you. So you are that. So moksha is there only. It is, we have to unveil only, because there is a very light avaran is also one obstacle, no? That seed has a avaran, then when it sprouts, it gets break and the sprout comes in a seed. Like that, we have a well of ignorance around ourselves only. So moksha is always there, but we are not knowing ki we are mukta. We have a moksha. Thank you.
Yeah, you're right.
That was wonderful sharing.
Very well said.
Such a beautiful example, no? The seed is already there.
Yeah.
And the
There
tree
is
is
always a
avyakta
tree.
in the seed, no? That's such a beautiful perspective. Very good.
So that Malavikshep Avarana, that Avaran thing is the one Malavikshep we are doing all that Chitta Shuddhikaran. That Avaran, you need to be totally in the Bhakti and Shraddha Bhav, surrender. And then at what point of time it will happen, it all depends on the divine. That's what I feel. Be ready at any moment of time. When you want to come, you come to us. Come to me. Like that, we
Exactly.
need to be.
We just have to keep our mind clean, our house clean. When the divine will enter, we don't know. I mean, even that, the entering also is literally not right, the term. But
Whatever we are doing, Gurudev is saying, no, we are only cleaning the vessel.
yeah, we just have to keep our house clean. In fact, Gurudev says this. He says, keep your house clean. You never know when the divine will come. And by this, it's not just the physical house. It's not just the space we live in. It is the inner faculties, the mind, chitta, buddhi, ahankara, all of that. How clean are we? Are we polishing ourselves? If we make it crystal clear, then of course the pratibimba of the Atma that we actually are, it will show up, and that's what it is.
कभी भी चमक सकता है.
Mm.
Infinite patience.
Shall I take the next verse or we want to stop for Manana? I will just read the shloka, right? Or
There is only one more paragraph, Balaji. So can you finish? We can finish this part. this sloka?
This
That one
verse,
more
new
paragraph.
verse?
No, that the same.
No, that is
Same.
over. The same shloka 21, it is completed, my dear.
No, it's
Okay.
not.
No, not completed. Oh,
Another
Kshamyatan.
2 more paragraphs there.
I did not.
Oh, Dr. Mara wanted you to repeat it, so that's why.
Yeah,
Let me
yeah,
know
I'm so
if I
sorry.
need to take over. Bella, you can.
No, I will complete and then.
Yeah, fine. Fine.
Yeah. I think from here we need to aviveki. Oh, I'm really sorry. I did not realize. Yeah. Viveka is the means, Atma is the end. The aviveki becomes the seeker. The avyakta Atma, the end, and Viveka, the means. Yam prapya na nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. Why is it called paramagati? That is because gaining this, they do not come back. There is no coming back because it is not an end other than yourself. Generally, from any end, you certainly come back. But when the end is yourself, how can you come back? You can come back only from an experience. Simple nirvikalpa samadhi without the knowledge that Atma is nirvikalpa, for example, is an experience from which you will come back. I repeat, you can come back only from an experience. Simple nirvikalpa samadhi without the knowledge that Atma is nirvikalpa, for example, is an experience from which you will come back. When it is knowledge, coming back is not possible. With the mind, I am Sat Chit Ananda Atma, and without the mind, I am still Sat Chit Ananda Atma. What is to be gained? Before a thought, there is a Sat Chit Ananda Atma. When a thought is there, it is the same. A thought does not displace Sat Chit Ananda Atma. It is nothing but an expression of the Sat Chit Ananda Atma. Even if you have a thought, if you know you are Sat Chit Ananda, there is no question of losing that knowledge. Once there is no ignorance of Atma, which does not change, there is no return. Such a beautiful. Atma is indeed my abode, Dhamma, Bhagavan says. That is the highest end, Paramagati. The expression Paramagati can give rise to the notion that there is a place that I have to reach. Shastra does talk about heaven as a desirable place. But Bhagavan says here that the highest end is you. There is no heaven beyond you. All other places are places from which you will return. This is the heaven entering which you will never return. Everybody is generally committed to go to a place where they can be free from the troubles of life. That desirability is expressed by using the word dhamma. At the same time, it is made clear that even though it is heaven-like, it is non-separate from you and there is no coming back. That is the greatest abode. Bhagavan says, I have no abode other than you. I reside in your own intellect. Achieving this Atma by knowledge, which is the only way to achieve it, is moksha. So beautiful. Antarmukhi Sada Sukhi, as Brahmaraji always says. So Bhagavan is already there. We just have to recognize. So we just have to recognize our Swarupa, that is nothing but Sat Chit Ananda. So in any condition, har hal mein khushi, that happens, I think, automatically once you recognize. I think if you want me to repeat anything, please let me know, or we can stop here. I will just read the shloka we have covered today. From the 20th. From 20th, right? Parasmatu bhavonyo vyakto vyaktat sanatanaha yatsa sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashyati. But distinct from that unmanifest is another unmanifest, which is existent and eternal. I repeat, but distinct from that unmanifest is another unmanifest, which is existent and eternal, that is not destroyed when all beings are destroyed. Mahatah param avyaktam avyaktat purushah parah purushanna param kinchit sa kashta sa paragatihi. The unmanifest is higher than Mahat. Purusha is higher than the unmanifest. There is nothing higher than Purusha. He is the end. He is the highest goal. Avyaktokshara ityuktaha tamahuhu paramam gatim yam prapya na nivartante taddhama paramam mama. Taddhama paramam mama. The unmanifest that was spoken of as the one that is not subject to destruction, that they say is the highest end, that abode of mind, gaining which people do not return, is the highest. I think we can close our eyes and then we can share. Hari Om, Jai Gurudev.
Yeah. Yeah.
I share.
So
Yeah.
actually, we, even though it's how much it's only in theoretical knowledge that I'm having, the thing is, I'm thinking, when it's a Brahman, you're thinking that the whole consciousness, right? But then here, this last two that verses we read, it alludes to this Aksham Brahma, Atma is the Brahma, so like, so I am in you already. That point, to nailed it today, in the head. Like this Aksham Brahma is Brahma in Atma, in the form of Atma in you. And you have to realize that part. So it is in you, in mind, and see, you don't have to be going or looking for it anywhere else. Just that's within you.
Yeah, it's the self-realization of oneself with the help
Yeah.
of the knowledge that it is, then you merge with that one consciousness.
That's right. That you're reaching that paramagati is basically that you realize that, then that you reach the highest end. So this thing is repeatedly it was nailed in the head today. Is with the mind I am Satchit Ananda. Even when you have the thought, there is Satchit Ananda Atma, and nothing displaces that Atma. So it is once there is no ignorance of Atma, which does not change, there is no return. So that's the bottom line here.
And it's only for the people who know Shastra, the Vedanta, the knowledge. It is only for those people that is talked of. Other people, they will have good or bad gati, but only the one who has realized the self with the help of the knowledge will be merging into that higher consciousness. This is like living,
Yeah,
while living you have that moksha.
right. So they also the other ends for other beings. It mentioned there that one part it said like Vishnu Loka and Brahma Loka and all that. That was in the previous paragraph.
Yeah, it is for the sansaris they have
Samsari.
mentioned who do not have the knowledge. They think
Mm.
that doing all like the rituals or any like following without having much of the Shastra knowledge, they will aim for the Vishnu Loka, Brahma Loka. But the one who realized himself as
This union with Atma is that
yeah,
Paramatma in the end it becomes you're united with that Atma. That's the bottom line. So you have to think like as we talked about yesterday, Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi. You got to keep thinking of that all the time.
though reading and knowing is so simple, but the so much of effort and purusharth is there behind it that
It is, yeah. Like right
to,
now, it
clean
took me so
yourself
much
is a
time
big
to
task.
understand these last two verses. What talked about avyakta, then you're thinking about something else. But it's a nature, it is within you that avyakta. That's why you're not able to see it. Um, that's the
It's
bottom
the
line.
I think the consciousness pervading is talked about uh, in these three shlokas, all in different manners, touching every part in different way.
I wonder when they say pranav mantra, the Om, what is that meant? I don't know what it is. That Om is a pranav mantra they call.
It like the creator, the sustenance, and the destroyer. Uma is signifying that, and after that, what this when you end with the chanting Om, that the silence that is the fourth part of the Om, that is the higher consciousness. These three, the manifestation that merges into the unmanifest, that is that silence after the Om. It is described this way, like the Turiya state you can like understand with the sleep, the dream, the waking, the like.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I heard both that explanation, like in different places. But
Yeah,
then the
actually,
Mandukya,
Atma has been described in fourfold manners in Mandukya Upanishad.
right.
in this dream sleep, then in like it's the fourfold processes of the description they have given, how they have compared it to with the four limbs of the cow also. It has been compared with like
I didn't read it yet, but then
yeah, I haven't finished yet.
yeah, I read some of
yeah.
it, but then I didn't read the whole thing.
Yeah.
Good.
But it's very nice. In fact, the Chandogya Upanishad gives more detail of these, like this type of the meditations and the Vidya more. It's more in detail in Chandogya Upanishad. The Mandukya Upanishad only explains about the Atma in fourfold manner.
It's the shortest one I heard.
Shortest one, like it has only 12 verses. It has. But it is the powerhouse. It is said that it is the powerhouse of all this small and very impressive in its own way.
Jai Gurudev. Shall we go to chapter 6? Because it's in so much in sync with what we are actually, what we're discussing now from chapter 8. So yesterday we saw time and space also have their existence in Atma. Before that it was consciousness. Atma is not located anywhere, right? It is not located like point A, point B, because all that requires spatial orientation. But since time and space also have their existence in Atma, Atma has no location. It is everywhere. It is the Adhisthana. It is the basis of everything. Therefore, the self runs through any being that you think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that being is sustained, vivified by this same self alone. In this way, Atma becomes the Adhisthana, the basis for any bhuta. Being limitless, Atma is not bound by time or space. And in this limitless consciousness alone, all beings have their being, their existence. Each one of them has its Adhisthana, its basis in Atma, and therefore in I, Aham. Aham Atma is not the self of any one being. It is a self that abides in all beings. Sarva Bhutastha Atma. Now, the resolution of all beings into the self by knowledge. The other statement in this verse, Sarva Bhutani cha Atmani Ikshate, is also important. It means that the meditator sees all beings in the self. How? This is what is meant by resolution. To understand this, let us look at the different types of resolution or dissolution called laya or pralaya. One type of laya is called nitya laya, the resolution that takes place daily when you go to sleep. Everything is resolved into yourself. All your projections, your experiences, the world, and all its beings, all of them resolve into yourself alone in sleep. This is called Nitya Laya, daily dissolution. Then there is Mahapralaya, cosmic dissolution, referred to by the expression Srishti Sthiti Pralaya, the creation, sustenance, and dissolution of the world itself. This type of laya is like deep sleep, but with reference to the total, the cosmos, rather than to a given individual. Nothing is really lost in these two types of dissolution, since everything is merely in its unmanifest condition, and when it manifests again, it is just as it was before. When you come back from sleep, you are as you were before, and everything else comes back in the same form also. Similarly, after Mahapralaya, the creation also comes back exactly as it was before, and can therefore be considered an extension of the deep sleep condition alone. Because these manifest and unmanifest conditions form a cycle, nothing is really lost. From a manifest condition to an unmanifest condition is called pralaya, dissolution or resolution. And from the unmanifest condition to a manifest condition is called srishti, creation. And the continual change that the manifest form undergoes is called sthiti, sustenance, wherein the same manifestation seems to appear but with certain changes. Sthiti is not a stationary condition. It is time-bound and always changing. Everything is always in a state of flux, but still recognizable. Even though constantly changing, the same mountain is recognized by you, the same sun, the same moon. Meeting an old friend after 10 years, you recognize the person in spite of the changes that have taken place in each of you. If moment to moment things were to change in such a drastic way that you could not recognize them at all, there would be continuous dissolution, pralaya, and no sthiti at all. Continuous dissolution and continuous creation is meaningless. There is then a recognizable sthiti, sustenance, in spite of the changes taking place. The sun itself is imploding all the time, and thus is not exactly the same sun that you saw a minute before. It may run out too. In the same way, nothing remains the same. Everything is constantly changing. There is creation, srishti, constant change within itself, sthiti, and dissolution, pralaya. This srishti, sthiti, pralaya cycle is nothing but the manifestation and unmanifestation of consciousness, Atma. So we have Nitya Laya, which is what we do, what happens every night when we go to bed. All our projections, our experiences, they all resolve into that sleep. That is Nitya Laya. So I was just thinking, when we say good night, instead of saying good night, we should change the word to Shubha Nitya Laya, Shubha Ratri, not even Ratri, Shubha Nitya Laya. So then it brings our awareness to this Laya that happens. And when you extrapolate it to the cosmic level, it becomes Mahapralaya, where all beings are involved. It is not just the individual. Whereas there's Mahapralaya referred to by the expressions Srishti Sthiti Pralaya. And this is cyclical. This creation, sustenance. And sustenance is not that they're all stationary or non-changing. There is a constant flux happening. In spite of that constant flux, we are still able to recognize objects. Just imagine if we are not able to see a chair as a chair, there is constant flux happening within the chair or the mountain that was given in the example, and it is constantly changing. What kind of experience will we have? I mean, we cannot even recognize objects as objects, isn't it? If, for instance, our own human being, a human body, There is so much of activity going on constantly. Take it from the physical gross aspect, cells. There's so much of metabolic activity, processes going on, all the oxidation, reduction, and amino acids being created from digestion. So much of activity is going on. If we were to see all that, we would not recognize our self as a human being, as something constant. So we are able to see some seemingly constant thing in this ever-changing constants. And then we have Srishti Sthiti Pralaya. So the manifest to the unmanifest condition, this is cyclical. And therefore nothing is actually lost. And all this is time bound. And this Srishti Sthiti Pralaya cycle is nothing but the manifestation and unmanifestation of pure consciousness, that is Atma. Moksha is also dissolution. A third type of Pralaya is called Atyanta Pralaya, total dissolution, and is what we call Moksha. Atyanta Pralaya or Moksha does not involve any kind of disappearance. You look at the same object and resolve it in the appreciation of its cause, the truth of the object, Satya Vastu. For example, when you see 1,000 pots all born of clay, you resolve all of these objects by appreciating clay as the Satya of every pot. Then there is Maha Atyanta Pralaya. We're going into degrees. We started with Nitya Pralaya, then Maha Pralaya, then now Atyanta Pralaya, and now there is Maha Atyanta Pralaya. When all names and forms with their various distinct features go into a state of unmanifest condition, it is called either Laya or Pralaya. This means that it is either Nitya Laya or Maha Pralaya. Whereas here, without changing any object, things are as they are, but at the same time, they are envisioned by you as non-separate from the cause, Brahma Atma. This particular vision is unfolded in this verse by the words, Sarva Bhutani cha Atmani Ikshate. Vedanta reveals the cause. I'll read this para again. So, when all names and forms with their various distinct features, I'll actually read Atyanta Pralaya again. So Atyanta Pralaya or Moksha does not involve any kind of disappearance. You look at the same object and resolve it in the appreciation of its cause. So you look at the cause of the object. Like you're looking at the pot. What is the cause of the pot? Mud. And then you go on and on till you come to the truth of it. So the cause of the pot is the clay, and clay is the Satya Vastu in this example. Similarly, there is then Maha Atyanta Pralaya. When all names and forms with their various distinct features go into a state of unmanifest condition, it is called either Laya or Pralaya. This means that it is either Nitya Laya or Maha Pralaya. Whereas here, without changing any object, things are as they are, but at the same time, they are envisioned by you as non-separate from the cause, Brahma Atma. This particular vision is unfolded in this verse by the words, Sarva Bhutani cha Atmani Ikshate. Vedanta reveals the cause, Karana, of everything as Satya and the effect, Karya, as Nitya. This particular analysis is therefore called Karana Karyavada, cause-effect analysis. In fact, there is no real Karana or Karya because one of them becomes Nitya. This means that the status of being a Karana is also incidental. He's taking us to a different level altogether. Everything that is here is Satya Brahma alone. So therefore, there is no cause. Cause for what? Knowing this, you look at the world, the same world, with a different buddhi. You look at it as the Purusha, I, the cause. Therefore, the entire creation is only in terms of subtle and gross bodies, Sukshma Sthula Shariras. These alone are created, whereas Atma, being timeless, is not created. Uncreated, Atma is the truth of everything, Satyavastu, the basis, Adhishtana, of any creation that may be there. Atma is the very basis for the vision implied by the words in this verse. Sarva bhutastam atmanam sarva bhutani cha atmani ikshate. I will just read this one more paragraph and then we. Here a problem can arise. Wherever there is adhishtana, a confusion is possible between the basis, ashraya, and the based, ashrita. For example, when I say on the rope is a snake or on the gold is a chain, you may think that the snake is actually lying on the rope or the chain is actually sitting on top of the gold. This would mean that the rope and the snake or that the gold and the chain are two different things, when in fact they are not. This is just a way of describing something wherein there are apparently two objects, but in fact there is only one. When we talk about the snake on the rope or the chain on the gold, one object is the adhishtana. Sorry, where is that? One object is the adhishtana, the basis, and the other is something that is based, dependent on this. Adhishtana, basis. I will just read this last part also. Between Atma and the world, there is no basis-based relationship. Thus, we see that this basis-based relationship generally implies two different things. Here too, the Jagat, the world, all the beings, Sarva Bhutani, are based upon Atma. And this is called Sarva Bhutastha Atma, the Atma that is the Adhishtana for all beings. Even so, this is not a basis-based relationship. Such a division is not there because all the bhutas are non-separate from Atma, which is why Krishna says here, Sarva Bhutani Atmani Ikshate. The person, the Sarvatra Samadarshi, the one who sees the Sama, Atma in everything, recognizes all beings as non-separate from the Paramatma, just as he or she sees the clay in the pots and the gold in the chains. Seeing all beings, time, space, everything in Atma is called Atyanta Pralaya, a dissolution of the difference between objects and their cause. Atyanta Pralaya is not the dissolution of the world. It is the dissolution of the difference between the world and its Karana, a difference born out of pure Ajnana, ignorance. This difference, division, is resolved in the vision that whatever that is here is non-separate from Atma, that is Brahman. Yeah.
So we have to say Atma and the Brahman is one and the same, not keep saying different things, right?
You mean Atma is what? What Atma are you meaning?
Yeah, when we say Atma, it's the same as Brahman, So when in my head, I always think Brahman is that whole Brahman, like so it's one and the same. We call it as different names, truth, Atma, Brahman. and Avyakta,
Yeah,
all that.
correct. The Atma
Yes.
here, Atma, I think in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is used Atma in different, with different perspectives in different shlokas. In
Right.
some shlokas, that is why we cannot just generalize and say, oh, Atma is equal to Brahma and everything. No. Based on the context,
Context, right.
in some
Mm.
shlokas, Atma is the mind.
Yeah, it does. He does say
So,
that, but what I'm saying is, in my own mind, like
right.
this Akshara Brahma is the way, I was wondering why they brought this up again in this point here. We're talking Brahma, Atma from the second chapter. What is different here? That's what I'm trying to understand. But of course, um, the Sarva Bhutas, that also they're trying to explain so many examples, which is that snake and the rope and then the clay pot, gold chain, gold and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our journey, our evolution should be from just doing this Nitya Pralaya and being part of this Shrishti Sthiti Pralaya,
Mm.
Atyanta Pralaya, which is where you dissolve into the understanding that the cause, you dissolve into the cause from the effect, which is Nama, Rupa and everything. You dissolve that into the ultimate cause.
Cause,
Atyanta
right.
Pralaya.
Mm-hmm. So
This
when
will
you
help
said
us
what
a
is
lot
the
as a
Atyanta
practice.
Pralaya, that Laya, Laya, Laya is the one you're talking about, right? Subhalaya that you said.
Yeah,
And
Nitya Laya. That is the sleep.
Nitya Laya,
Where
right.
we go to
Nitya
sleep.
Laya for our own projection, impressions, all the experience
Mm.
dissolving in sleep. And then the Mahapralaya is no,
At the
this
cosmic level. At the cosmic
at the
level.
cosmic level, right? So the Sthiti, Srishti, Sthiti, and Pralaya is that Mahapralaya.
Correct.
And then Atyanta Pralaya is that, what was that one? I'm sorry.
It is where the cause of the, so when you're meditating, or you're seeing an object, you go beyond the object and look at the cause of the object, the Satya. The Satya Vastu is what you,
Oh, okay. That
so
the
then you
gold
dissolve.
chain. Okay.
Yeah.
Like that's where the gold chain,
Mm.
um, the
The pots
chain
and the clay.
played, right? The pot dissolve breaks it and the clay exists.
Yeah. And then the Jagat and Ishvara, Jagat and Brahma, Jagat and Atma, whatever you want to call it. So that dissolves into that. That is moksha. Dissolution is moksha. That is what is the paragraph over here. The resolution of all beings into the self by knowledge, and moksha is also dissolution.
Right. See, this is in a way they're putting this negating all the things, right? Neti stuff. Now with their moksha's dissolution, like it everything resolves into that. Like I said, cause is the all the material things. And then when it dissolves into that, the effect dissolves into it.
Yeah. Actually speaking, here this para is very beautiful. It says Karya Karana Vada, Karana Karya Vada, the cause effect analysis. In fact, there is no real Karana or Karya because one of them becomes Mithya. So when one is Mithya, one is in illusion, then there is only one. Then what is the cause? What is the effect? There is only one. So in that Advaita, and when you attain that Atyanta Pralaya, there is no cause, no effect. There is only one. So when there is only one, where is the question of this difference between Karana and Karya, isn't it? For an Ajnani, yes, this Karana Karya Vada, as long as he is not attained moksha, it is there. it seems valid, because that is how you proceed further in this inquiry. But once a jnani, a Brahma jnani or a jnana nishta, at that level, there is no difference at all. That is why the sarva bhutastam atmanam sarva bhutani chatmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshanaha. For him, there is no difference at all.
It is true, yeah. Everything is Brahma, right? So then there is no cause and effect. So whatever.
Actually, yeah, go ahead.
No, that's right. Like, see, we are talking about all beings, right? So when that's what I was imagining. Like, think about all beings, like not only human beings. It's all living, other animals, plants, things like that. They're also living entity, and then there's a material cause that is also pervaded by this Brahman, right? So when you see that, it's all Brahman. Nothing is, not Brahman. So then that becomes, there is no effect there. That, like you said, it's mithya, it's not real. Those not real. Wow.
So shall we close here? We'll take up. Go ahead.
One thing. So in meditation, we have that atyanta pralaya.
Atyanta pralaya.
Atyanta pralaya.
First is nitya pralaya. Every day we let us practice this nitya pralaya, and then slowly extend it up to the
Nothing to practice in nitya laya. No, nitya laya. Anyway, you're going through every day. Nitya laya is inevitable.
Like in meditation, like you are finding, if some thought is there and you are going to the cause of it, you are seeking that what is the cause. So that time you are going into that atyanta pralaya state.
Correct. I don't know whether we can call it atyanta pralaya state, because in chapter 8 we read, no, once you reach that place, there is no coming back. So there is some glimpses, I guess, we're getting. It may not be complete dissolution. Momentarily, it is like that. It's an experience we're having. It is not complete recognition, probably. Wherein in that, what was that? Nirvikalpa Samadhi.
Nirvikalpa Samadhi, right.
Isn't it? Because we're coming back out of it. There's some disturbance, we're coming out of it. So that cannot be likened to Atyanta Pralaya, I suppose. When you are so totally, seeped in meditation, and your practice and your Antakarana Shuddhi is there, there's no Raga Dvesha binding you, then yes, when you're meditating, then you probably will get this Atyanta Pralaya.
Yeah, we are seeking the Atyanta Pralaya state.
Yeah, we're seeking. So tomorrow we'll do this Yomam Pashyati Sarvatra Sarvam Cha Mai Pashyati Tasyaham Na Pranashyami Sachamena Pranashyati. But we'll actually go through this verse 29 one more time, the last few parts, and then we'll come to 30. Anyone wants to read up and summarize verse 30, please go ahead. Actually, we thought we'll do it as summary, but we're ending up reading, which is fine. I'm actually happy doing that. But the whole basic purpose was to get all of us to read and summarize in our own words. That was the whole intent. So let's keep that exercise on.
Yeah, these three verses, like 29, 30, 31, I think is talking, it's more connected. They all three of them.
Yeah.
About this master.
So we'll close here today.
Tomorrow 30th, no?
Tomorrow is 30th. Yeah, tomorrow is 30.
Okay.
Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.